Well, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Fancy seeing you here. How have you been? How have you been? It is pouring it down here. So last week I was waxing lyrical about the end of summer is far, far away, and I might have been proved wrong. But that's okay. That's okay. We need the water. So, how have you been? In case no one has told you today, your hair looks fabulous. Love what you've done with it. And has September been treating you so far? I have to say, so far, I am loving it. I am really enjoying the quiet that September often brings. The kids are finally back at school. The house is really peaceful. I've been out on my paddle boards. I can actually move my arms, just soaking up the water, the sunshine, and sea life. It's been really grounding this last few days, and it's really given my brain some space to think and dream and get really excited about what's coming next. So, speaking of what's coming next, this Wednesday, September the 10th, I have a fabulous free session for you all, and it is how to make $250,000 a year as a coach or a consultant, and then scale from there without doing anything sleazy. You absolutely do not want to miss it. And so wherever you are listening to this, you can find the link to join in the comments. So we are back with episode 16 of Going Solo, the weekly podcast for solopreneurs who want to make life and business work for them and not the other way around. I'm Knight Dutkewich, corporate dropout turned business coach, and someone who learned the extremely hard way what it actually takes to run a successful solo business. Each week, I'm breaking down the real strategies, the mindset shifts, and yes, just a smidgen of woo-woo to help you build a profitable business on your terms. Because, my friends, it is not the market. It is not who's in the White House or in Downing Street. It is not your toxic ex-boss. It is what is going on between those two beautiful ears of yours. So today, we are going to talk about something that could completely change your business, and it completely changed mine, and that is the mindset shift that every coach, consultant, solopreneur, and quite frankly human needs in order to make multi-six figures and beyond. So if you are doing all of the things, if you feel like you're doing all of the things, you're posting, you're creating freebies, maybe you're making offers, maybe you're running webinars, but the money just isn't matching the efforts, this episode is especially for you. I was going to sing a Kylie and Jason song then. Especially for you. Showing my age. Okay, so I want to let you into a secret of why it isn't working yet, with yet doing a lot of heavy lifting. And just before we do that, I just want to preface it with, it is not because you're not good enough. Okay? There's nothing wrong with you. It is not because you're not ready. No one's ever ready, my lovelies. It is not because you don't know enough. And it is definitely, probably, not because you aren't working hard enough. It's because of the questions you keep asking yourselves. The number one of these being, what if this fails? Our brains constantly run through worst case scenarios. They're designed to do that over hundreds of thousands of years. And so as somebody that works for themselves, we might be thinking, what if I launch and nobody signs up? What if I offer a group program and either nobody buys, or what happens if one person buys? And then I've got this group running and they'll realize I'm a fraud and there's nobody else in the group. What will happen then? How embarrassing will that be? What if people will think I'm being pushy or salesy? Or if I do get the clients, what happens if I can't handle them when they actually come? What happens if I'm doing group coaching or group consulting and nobody engages or talks back? So if you have ever felt one of those things, usually before 9 a.m. in the morning, welcome to All the Best People Club. All the best people think this. And some of the other things you might be thinking is, what if my old boss sees this? What if the person this piece of content is about sees themselves in it? What if they call me? What if they text me? What if it's really embarrassing? What if they tell me my story isn't true? What if this is never happening for me? It's all well and good that it might happen for others, but what happens that, these things never happen for me? First thing I want to say is I get it. I get it. That is a completely normal human response and a human experience. If it isn't, you might be a psychopath or a malignant narcissist. So it is a good thing. If you doubt yourself, it is a sign of a healthy amygdala, healthy brain. Congratulations. You're probably just really smart. And that's often one of the costs of being highly intelligent and even highly emotionally intelligent is you will hold conflicting thoughts simultaneously. It's a ride. That is one of the, I don't want to say trade-offs because I actually think it's a really cool thing. That is one of the costs of being smart and being gifted and being considerate and being kind and being empathetic and being humble. So welcome to all the best people. And I get it. Since I was a young child, when I was writing this, I was thinking, when was the first time I realized I was anxious? And it wasn't until I was an adult that I had the words to describe. But I remember being 3, 4, and 5, being scared to death. And it was often death. I was always scared that I was going to die. And I remember hiding behind the curtains in my parents' these green, long Marks and Spencer's curtains in the back family room. And I remember being so overwhelmed about worrying about dying and things going wrong that the only way I could make peace was thinking that by the time I'm old enough to die, they'll have invented a cure and will live forever. So I literally kind of had to trick my brain to say the worst case scenario you're worried about, even when that's going to happen, there will be a solution to stop it from happening. Fun 5-year-olds. And that went on for years. I experienced severe anxiety and panic attacks all through my corporate career. Now, I was very highly functioning. I think if you asked most people around me, certainly professionally, they wouldn't have known. My panic attacks were in the car on the way to work, in the bathroom at lunchtime before I went. So I understand what it's like to have a brain that is predisposed towards strong thoughts and feelings of anxiety. I get it. I understand. And of course, that thinking, those same fears, I carried into young adulthood and into business. And it kept me stuck for far too long. And I'm really happy to say that having anxious thoughts doesn't floor me anymore. Now, do I still get anxiety? Absolutely. I am probably anxious at least twice a day. I now recognize it's just a vibration in my body caused by a thought that I'm thinking, and probably maybe some hormones in there as well. And I'm able to much better process it. So you can get to the other side. So as a coach and a consultant or a solopreneur, one of the things we do when we're thinking that, what if it fails, or this is going to fail, or this is never going to work for me, is we tend to get really, really busy. So a lot of the clients that come to me will say, I'm doing all of these things. I'm really busy. I can't keep up. And I'll ask them how much money they've made. And they'll say this week. And they'll say none. So if you are really, really busy and you are not making any money, enough money, or the type of money you want this week, you're busy doing absolutely the wrong things. Busy doing the wrong things, my friends. I did it for years. Okay. So what happens when we worry that we're going to fail, it isn't going to work out, is that we stay busy with what I call safe action. That safe action feels really productive, but actually it's passive. It's not taking us forward. Passive or safe action looks like tweaking your website copy for hours instead of pressing publish and, be damned if there's a spelling mistake or 10 like there is in mine. Editing your freebie endlessly instead of sharing it to somebody. Put it out there. Consumption. I know that people, and I know that I am in passive safe action when I am consuming versus creating. So passive action is all about consumption. You may be ordering even more books. Not that there's anything wrong with ordering books. I love a book. You might be ordering more books, reading more, taking another course, going to another weekend conference, listening to another podcast. Apart from this one, obviously, this isn't passive. This is massive inspired action. Keep listening. You might be writing posts that I just kind of, will do well, but it's not going to drive anybody to work with you. You might only be making offers to like really warm leads, people you think will say yes, instead of giving everyone the chance to apply to work with you. You might be spending all day consuming content or commenting on your peers' social media posts, but not speaking in the hope that some potential client out there will see you, and not speaking to potential clients. Now, passive action will feel busy, it will feel productive, and it will feel safe, because it is safe because it protects you from rejection. Passive action doesn't risk a no, and therefore doesn't, I'll say, risk a yes. It keeps you invisible, and it tricks your brain that you are doing all of the things. Now, I was talking to my brother yesterday, who is also a consultant. And I was saying to him, he hasn't long started his consultancy, and I'll let him speak for himself. But he was saying about all these things he's learned already in the first few months of working for himself. And I remember saying to him, wasn't until about 3 years into my business that I realized that I thought I was an entrepreneur doing all the entrepreneurial things. I was getting clients, I was paying the bills, I was getting referrals. It wasn't until about 3 years in when I realized that I wasn't an entrepreneur, I was a subcontractor. Now, there is nothing wrong with being a subcontractor, but basically the clients were never mine. I was always getting contracts on behalf of other people and delivering the contracts. Somebody else was creating the, I'll say lead for want of a better word, creating the lead, creating the contract, taking most of the money. I was paid a day rate. And it wasn't until a few years afterwards when I started to generate my own leads, create my own leads, generate my own clients, create my own clients, create my own contracts, take the majority of the money, that I realized I'd been really, really busy on the wrong things. So it was a real wake-up call for me. So one of the things that hit me was the reason I was kind of stuck as a subcontractor was because I was trying to protect myself from rejection. And that's part of it as well. So if you have been working for yourself for a while, have a look at where your contracts are coming from. If you're a subcontractor contracting through somebody else, have a look about why that is and whether that works for you. Whether actually you're kind of buffering yourself from rejection. Because I used to do that. So when we filter who we are going to make an offer for them to apply to work with us to, it is an absolute business killer. So one of the things I've learned the hard way, I learn everything the hard way, is we cannot predict who is ready to buy. So I have a team now. I will talk to Lindsay, my COO, and we'll kind of come up with, okay, who's in the pipeline? Who do we think is going to buy? And sometimes the people we think are going to buy. The people that really buy are the ones we never see coming, or the ones we never thought would come. So you cannot predict who is going to buy. Really, really, really important. I've had people tell me, I'm retired, I can't afford coaching, I don't have a lot of money, and then they'll pay in full the same day. I've also had people who I've been talking to and going back and forwards with who I think are dream clients vanish, piff, puff, poof, vanish into thin air, and I never hear from them again. So, and that's the universe wanting to teach us something. And I suspect what we need to learn is when we only offer to safe people, we shrink our opportunities and our income. And this is where one of my favorite principles comes in, and that is every day behave as if everything always works out. So if you want to get to multi 6 figures, 7 figures, as a coach, consultant, solopreneur, the biggest change in my business and my brain was, instead of waking up every day and allowing my nervous system and my fear and anxiety, my amygdala to run the show and think, these are all the things that are going to go wrong and I'm going to have to manage. Now, every day I start the day by, everything's going to work out today. Everything's going to work out, and everything's going to work out to my best good. So instead of asking, what if this fails? You want to assume your success is inevitable. It's already done. And this is where some of you might be shouting at the screen going, is that it? Is that the line that I came here for? Yes, my friends, that is the line. Because people will tell me all of the time, that is unrealistic, Joe. It's unrealistic. And maybe you're thinking the same thing too. And it's bizarre, isn't it, the way it works? So for 40, 50, 30 years, we completely accept our anxious thoughts, our fear-based decisions, our fear-based thoughts, our panic, and that feeling we're doomed, and we don't even question it. But that's realistic. So like, we're kind of okay as a society to go accept the bad news. But the second when we want to go, well, if I have free will, and if you're listening to this, I hope you do, when people suggest using that free will to assume the best, assume everything's going to work out, we think that's crazy. We've got it ass backwards, haven't we? Completely backwards. So instead of letting your subconscious default to, what if this fails? What if they reject me? What if they say no? What if I'm embarrassed? What if they take me to task? Imagine if you assumed your success was inevitable. This is what I do with my clients. Your success is inevitable. You couldn't stop it if you tried. Right. What happens when you start to assume your success is inevitable is it's not magic, in my opinion. Is there an alignment with the universe? Absolutely. I believe in all that stuff. From a psychological point of view and a physiological point of view, what happens is this. When you start to assume your success is inevitable, your beliefs, your thoughts, those sentences in your brain, your feelings, your emotions, those vibrations in your body, your actions, your behavior, what you do starts to align with that assumption. And that, my friends, is exactly what triggers the results you've been waiting for. Okay? So it's not magic, maybe a little bit of magic. It is psychology and physiology and biology. Okay, so let me break this down. So when we think on purpose, when we let our juicy prefrontal cortex, where all the magic happens, take the lead versus the kind of the primitive, more insular, subconscious, older, primal brain parts take the lead. This is what happens. So from a beliefs and a thoughts point of view, when you act as if everything works out, your brain will start generating possibility and opportunity instead of worst case scenarios. You will notice opportunities. You will notice potential cool people or potential clients. You will notice openings that were invisible when fear ruled your mind. There's lots of reasons for this. Confirmation bias. I always tell the story of a few years ago, and I wish I'd never sold this car. A few years ago, I bought a bright yellow Beetle with like daisies on the hubcaps. Loved that car. And when I decided that I wanted a bright yellow Beetle, I'd always wanted a bright yellow Beetle. I like yellow. I like beetles. I like fun things. I suddenly saw beetles everywhere. There were yellow beetles everywhere. Now, were there any more yellow beetles on the road the day after I decided to buy one than the day before? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. My brain started noticing it. Your brain is the queen or king of patterns. We want things to make sense. And the same will happen if you are looking to sell your house or you're thinking of an ex and a song comes on the radio. You are noticing it. Your brain is looking for the pattern. It's confirmation bias. And so the same is true. So when you are assuming the best, when you are looking for success, when you are looking for evidence this is all going to work out, that is what you see. And the opposite is true. When you are looking for evidence, you're going to fail. when you're looking for evidence that nobody wants what you've got, when you're looking for evidence you're not good enough, of course you'll find it, because that is what you are looking for. Seek and ye shall find. Okay, right. And then what happens with our emotions? When we assume that success is inevitable, that everything works out for our highest good, our thoughts align with possibility, and our body follows, and our physiology follows suit. You will feel lighter of spirit. You will feel more energized. You will feel more confident. You will feel more capable. Now, that is because you are literally using a different part of your brain. You're using the front, juicy prefrontal versus the back. Now, you need both. So 95% of the time, most of us are operating from a subconscious point of view and not engaging that big, juicy prefrontal. Or if we are engaging the big, juicy prefrontal, it's to try and manage all the garbage that's coming up from the back. Now, it's well-meaning garbage, but garbage nevertheless. So your nervous system, when we do this, your nervous system isn't stuck in flight, fight, freeze and fawn anymore. It's in a state where you can actually handle challenges and take risks. Really, really important. In order to make $250K, $600K, $1 million a year, $5 million a year, you're going to need to take some risks. You're going to need to take some risks. And the riskiest thing to start with is assuming your success is inevitable. Okay, now this does not mean you can sit on the couch eating Doritos. You can sometimes, but not as a business strategy. It's not great. It's not. I tried. Not great. The reason that when our beliefs and thoughts and our physiology changes is our actions and our behavior will change, because we're acting from a place of certainty and clarity and faith and trust and hope and peace and love. And if you think back to the podcast I did a few weeks ago, those are all the high vibe vibrations. So that energy moves much quicker and it makes us a magnet. Now remember, when those lower vibrations, fear, doubts, shame, embarrassment, frustration, guilt, they all vibrate much slower, but do not get it twisted. They are magnetic as well. They are attracting. They are attracting. Both attract. One set attracts what you do want. One set attracts what you don't want. Okay. So when our actions change, we make more offers. We make bolder offers. We raise our prices. We follow up. We risk being told to jog on or take a hike. Some people tell me to jog on and take a hike. They are not my people. They are not my people. No, I don't spam anybody. I follow up once. I will never leave more than 2 messages unanswered, and then I'm out. But when you are aligned with this is all going to work out, you will follow up with confidence without hesitation. You will put yourself out there even when the results aren't guaranteed. And again, you cannot sit on the sofa thinking, my success is inevitable. Success doesn't come from daydreaming. It comes from inspired action. And it doesn't come from busyness. I'm not very busy. I am not very busy. And I love that. I'm really proud of the fact I'm not very busy. I think I've got like 3 hours in my diary today. 3 hours. But those 3 hours I'm doing are crucial to growing my business, building relationships with people, growing my revenue, and increasing my reach. And if what I do in a day and with my precious tired mom energy isn't focusing on growing my reach, improving relationships, increasing revenue, I don't do it in my business. I don't do it. Now, I still have to make sandwiches for the kids and clean up after the animals, but from a business point of view, it's very, very focused on what I do. Now, I am a former world-class procrastinator. So if people have known me in the past, you won't think Joe focused. Joe being focused is a last 5-year thing. This is a learnt behavior. Okay, it's a learnt behavior. So if you're sitting there thinking, well, that's not what I do, I'm a procrastinator. I see you. I am you. I am you. I help people who are where I was 5 years ago because I know how to talk to them. I know what they're struggling with. They are me. We are one. Welcome. We're awesome. We're awesome. You're awesome. Yes, success comes from inspired action. The kind of action that is aligned with the outcome you're imagining, not the outcome that feels safe or easy. Inspired action is night and day different from busy work or safe action and passive action. It is bold. I always think it's audacious. I know I am doing well from a vibrational point of view. I know I'm in the right mindset when I'm feeling audacious, like feeling cute. Might pitch to Kate today, feeling audacious. It's intentional. It's directly connected to creating results. It's posting even when you're nervous. It's sending a message or a DM to a potential client even when you're scared of rejection. It's running their webinar and it's pressing record when nobody turns up. One of the things I see all the time from people is they underestimate how much it takes for people to say yes. I will see clients or peers run like 1 or 2 webinars, don't sell anything, so they stop because webinars don't work. I had to run 4 webinars before anybody bought anything. 4 webinars. Nobody came to the first one. I dragged my brother to the second one. My brother and someone else came to the third one. And again, slowly. So in the last 12, I had a look the other day, in the last 12 months, I have shown up for a webinar, I think, and delivered a webinar 20 times. Because I know in order to make money, in order for people to know, like, and trust me and trust themselves enough to get the same results, they are going to need to see me in action more than once. If you have done 1 masterclass, 1 webinar, and nobody's bought, you've got to get those. That Matthew McConaughey meme gif, isn't it? You've got to get those rookie numbers. Get those numbers up. Get the numbers up. You've got to follow up. You've got to make offers. You've got to speak your value out loud. And speaking, this is so funny. This happened today. So I want to give you a real life example of one of my clients. I won't mention his name. He's coming on the podcast soon. But he had probably a couple of months ago now, he had 2 clients reject 2 20K offers in the same week. And they didn't take the offer. They said they wanted to come back to it. But from his point of view, they rejected the offer. And he was gutted, absolutely gutted. He was frustrated. He was embarrassed. And he was thinking maybe he should just give up. Or it was evidence his prices were too high, or just like go back to corporates. But I worked with him. And instead of retreating, we leaned into acting as if it was already done, that his success was inevitable. And so he carried on. And he made the next offer and he got the next no. And he turned up again and again and again and fully leaned into his energy of success over fear. And then it started to happen. People started to say yes. He made $120,000 in 48 hours. He was actually going to come on this podcast today. He asked to come on the podcast. And the reason he didn't, when I was going through the dates with him, I said, oh, how about the 8th? And he texted me back and said, can't do the 8th. I'm proposing a $100,000 contract. If there is a better reason not to come on my podcast, it is that. And what was so interesting is I woke up this morning to a WhatsApp voice message from him. I'm so proud of him. I'm so happy for him. And that $100,000 contract, when he was there, he could just feel it wasn't enough for the value he gave. And he quoted them 150. Nobody blinked. And he's got to follow up with them in a couple of days. And I think he'll get that contract. When you assume everything works out, changes the way you think, feel, and act. The way you think, feel, and act produces the results in your life. Now, are there things that you can't control? Absolutely. Those are called circumstances. There are things that you can't control. But when you focus on controlling what you can, what we think, what we feel, and what we do, everything else will align and inspire to help you. Now, does that mean that bad things don't happen in the world? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm just talking about the things that we can control. Okay. And that client, and he will tell you himself, of all of my clients, he's the one that struggles the most with anxiety and panic, or has done anxiety and panic. Horrific, crippling anxiety. And when he started to not let that anxiety take the lead and starting to think and act as if his success was inevitable. His nervous system calmed down and his brain aligned to that reality, and opportunities and possibility that once felt impossible or for somebody else suddenly starts showing up. And again, it's neuroscience. This isn't science. This is science. When you act as if everything works out, your brain, well, when you start to believe that everything's going to work out, you've got to believe before you act. There's a whole other conversation. But when you start believing and feeling and acting as if everything always works out, your brain will start to create new neural pathways, those burrowed lines and indents in your brain. You can see it, little wiggly lines like water in the sand. And those new neural pathways are going to reinforce confidence and risk-taking and inspired action. And your body will follow suit. Your hormones will shift. Adrenaline becomes your ally. You start to be motivated by good dopamine, and not all dopamine is created equally. It's dopamine that we get kind of from drama and food and kind of looking at the headlines and what have they done today on the news, and that's why I have to be careful what I'm going to say. All of those things. Our hormone shift, adrenaline becomes your ally. Acetylcholine, that calm emotion that us introverts, we introverts run on a lot more, becomes your ally, not your enemy. We feel physically capable and our actions reflect that energy. So I think I've been talking about paddleboarding. So I'll be really honest with you. I cannot stand up yet on my paddleboard. I tried a few times. Like, I go straight over. It's not pretty. It's not pretty. I can't stand up yet. One of the things I've been doing is I will started off sitting on it with my feet flat and then cross-legged. And then this weekend I was kneeling on it. And then yesterday I was kneeling on it but sat very, very upright. And I can just feel myself getting stronger and stronger. And I said to my husband last night, I'm going to be standing up on that paddleboard in the next couple of days. That is because I have been taking risks. I've been building the muscle, the confidence to know that my success as a vertical paddleboarder is inevitable. It's inevitable. Okay. So it's really important to, every time you are doubting and have fear and thinks you're going to fail, you are emotionally rehearsing your reality. And you're creating your reality. So of course you're not going to succeed. So when we emotionally rehearse the reality we want, our brain and body need to experience it as if it's happening now. So when you wake up tomorrow, here's what I want you to do. And I literally did this morning. I want you to close your eyes. Actually, do this now. We're not going to wait till tomorrow. Do this now. Right. Take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Whew, they're called changing breaths. Do one more. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Right. Now, I want you to close your eyes for a second. Close those beautiful, beautiful eyelids. And I want you to picture yourself surrounded by the results you want. Whatever that looks like for you. Maybe it's standing up on the paddleboard. Maybe it's a sold out group program. Maybe it's 4 consulting clients saying yes to 200K programs. Maybe it's 4 sales calls booked. Maybe it's 5 new sales. I want you to feel the excitement and the pride and the confidence that is already yours. And I want your energy to guide your action today. I want you to act on it. I want you to send the emails. If you have an email list and you are not emailing them at least once a week, ideally twice a week, you can't compete. You can't compete. Send the emails. Post the updates, make the offer, tell people your goals, tell the right people your goals. If you don't have the right people to tell your goals, come tell me your goals. I want to hear them. I want you to take inspired steps towards that imagined outcome. Difference between safe action, that passive action, and inspired action comes from certainty and trust and faith and alignment, not fear. It is the action that your future self would take, the one who's already achieved the results. And that mindset shift, acting as if everything works out, will change everything. Your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, and ultimately your results. If I am ever, one of the things that has helped me with my anxiety, two things really. One is recognizing that anxiety is us not trusting the fact that we can handle whatever happens. So when I'm feeling anxious about something, my parents are aging, we're building a house, whatever it is. So if I'm feeling some anxiety come up, I remind myself of whatever happens that I can't control, I will manage it. I have managed and survived everything that's happened in my life so far. And there've been some big things in there. My husband had a stroke at 38. One of my children tried to take his own life when he was 12. I lost my best friend. There has been, and that is no different to anybody else's human experience. That is the human experience. Every one of those things that's happened, I have been able to manage it. I've been able to manage it. There is nothing that can happen that we can't manage. When you are having an anxious thought, when you remind yourself that whatever's going to happen, I can manage, the anxiety has lost its power and suddenly you're back in control again. All right. So after this episode, I want you to write down, everything is always working out for me. My success is inevitable. Everything always works out for me. My success is inevitable. And then every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, I want you to take one inspired piece of action you've been avoiding. Now you know what it is. You know what that is. If I said to you, what are you avoiding doing right now? I bet there's 5 things. I want you to do one of those things today. I want you to do another one of those things tomorrow. Now, I want you to give yourself a time and a duration. So don't just put it on the calendar for tomorrow. Pay yourself your best hours. So for me, it's like 9 o'clock in the morning. 9:30. Between 9 and 1. I will write down what it is I've been avoiding. So for one of the things I've been avoiding doing is, most of my clients are in the US. And as a Canadian, I can have a US bank account. And I've been avoiding and doing it forever. And it would really help my business. A lot of my expenses are in US dollars. Most of my payments in US dollars. I've been avoiding doing it. Why? I don't particularly like paperwork. Don't particularly like that sort of thing. It is on my list today. I'm committing to you, my friends. Today, I'm going to open my US bank account. I'm going to give myself 30 minutes to do it, because if I give myself 2 hours, it will take me 2 hours. If I give myself 30 minutes, it will take me 30 minutes. When I write these podcasts on a Sunday, I give myself 45 minutes to write the podcast. 45 minutes, that's all I give myself. Because if I give myself 3 hours, it will take me 3 hours. 45 minutes. All right, so I want you to start acting as if success is already inevitable. Everything's working out for your highest good. I want you to show up with that energy. I want you to carry yourself as the coach and the consultant who's already at multi-6 figures. That's what I was going to tell you. So that was the first thing that helped my anxiety, was knowing I can manage anything, handle anything that happens. Come at me. I got it. The second thing that I do is, if I'm struggling with a decision or feeling overwhelmed, I ask myself, what would $5 million Joe do? The Joe who earns $5 million a year, what would she do? And she always knows the answer. And it's often the opposite of what scared, anxious today Joe is doing. So go to your future self. What's $2 million Barbara do? What does $20 million David do? Those, they know the answer. And I want you to show up with that energy and watch what happens. Your next big win is one inspired action away. And if you want help embodying this mindset and taking the type of inspired action that creates multi-6 figures and beyond, I'm here for you. Remember, we've got the masterclass this week on Wednesday. The details are in the show notes. Remember, your future self is already done. They're already waiting for you. All you need to do to be able to meet them is to realize they're already there and to act as if they're already there. That's it for today, my friends. Go take inspired action. I will see you next time. And remember, just because you are going solo, it doesn't mean you're alone. I've got you. Until next time, take care.